Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. Terry McLaurin's contract standoff with the Washington Commanders has turned into one of the most contentious storylines of this NFL offseason. What started as a quiet negotiation behind the scenes has now erupted into a public spectacle, drawing reactions from media heavyweights and sparking heated debates across the league. McLaurin, who has consistently delivered 1,000-yard seasons for a team that's lacked consistent quarterback play, believes it's time he's compensated among the league's elite. His play speaks volumes, gritty, professional, and undeniably reliable. But his latest move, a formal trade request, may have shifted public perception in a way that's less favorable to the wideout. While the Commanders aren't rushing to move him, they're also not scrambling to solve this impasse. That's the awkward limbo this situation finds itself in. McLaurin is too valuable to let go, but too expensive, perhaps, to reward the way he wants. And so both sides sit, locked in a stubborn stare down. From the outside looking in, this is the kind of situation that raises eyebrows. You have a player in Terry McLaurin, a third-round pick who's far exceeded expectations, now seeking a long-term commitment that reflects his production and importance to the team. On paper, his demand isn't unreasonable. In a league where lesser receivers have secured $30 million per year or close to it, McLaurin's request for a figure in that ballpark is within the realm of current market dynamics. However, the Commanders' reluctance isn't necessarily about his skill set, it's about timing, age, and long-term value. With McLaurin set to turn 30 in September, the front office, particularly general manager Adam Peters, is likely crunching the numbers with caution. The history of wide receiver performance post-30 isn't on McLaurin's side, and Peters knows that giving a player a top-tier contract just before they potentially decline is a gamble with franchise-altering consequences. Enter Stephen A. Smith, who rarely pulls punches. The ESPN personality weighed in on the drama with his usual blend of candor and flair, stating that McLaurin's trade request didn't hold much weight, especially if there's no other team out there willing to match or exceed the Commanders' rumored offer of $27 million per season. Smith sympathized with McLaurin's position, praising his consistent output and professional demeanor, but questioned the wisdom of taking such an aggressive stance now. His suggestion? Washington should go ahead and bump their offer to $30 million. That number, while steep, reflects the reality of today's wide receiver market. But even Smith admitted uncertainty that another team would be willing to shell out that kind of cash, particularly when age and mileage start to become part of the equation. It's a precarious balance, one that could either tilt in McLaurin's favor or collapse under its own weight. It's not just about the money anymore. It's about leverage. McLaurin, acting on the advice of his agent, has played nearly every card available. He skipped voluntary workouts, made his frustrations known behind the scenes, and now gone public with a trade request. But now that his hand is exposed, what's left? Unless he's willing to sit out the entire 2025 campaign, a move that would hurt both his wallet and market value, he's reached the end of his bargaining chip stack. And that's where the media heat begins to rise. Critics have started accusing McLaurin of overplaying his hand, pushing too hard in a market that may not offer the support he assumes is out there. It's a dangerous game, and even for a receiver of McLaurin's caliber, the risk is growing by the day. The longer this drags on, the more it feels like a test of wills with no clear exit. Despite the public noise, the Commanders themselves have remained relatively silent. Head coach Dan Quinn has yet to address the matter directly with the team. Quinn, a seasoned figure in the league, knows that football is ultimately a business. He's not one to comment on another man's money, and he's clearly opted to keep the locker room focused on the task at hand, winning football games. Still, even without direct acknowledgement, the McLaurin situation casts a long shadow over the team. Every receiver rep in camp, every question from the media, every whisper. In the locker room, McLaurin's absence looms. And while Quinn might be hoping to keep the team insulated from the noise, there's only so long a storm like this can rage before it forces some kind of response. It's clear that both sides have drawn lines in the sand. McLaurin wants long-term financial security. The Commanders want to manage risk, build responsibly, and stay within a framework that doesn't compromise their future. These desires aren't mutually exclusive, but the rigidity on both ends makes finding common ground complicated. The franchise views McLaurin as a foundational piece, someone they'd ideally like to keep in the building, but they also don't want to be stuck holding a massive contract 2 years from now if age catches up and production wanes. It's not a betrayal, it's business. Yet for McLaurin, who's done everything the right way for the past 6 years, it probably feels like an injustice. The very qualities that made him invaluable, consistency, professionalism, durability, are now being held against him as liabilities due to the calendar. What's perhaps most frustrating for Commanders fans is how avoidable this all could have been. If the team had acted with urgency earlier in the offseason, when the asking price was perhaps slightly lower and emotions weren't as high, this could have been quietly resolved. Instead, they waited, and in that delay, the price went up, and the tone shifted from negotiation to confrontation. McLaurin has now made it clear that he's willing to push back, but the organization isn't blinking. That means the stalemate continues, with both sides holding fast to their respective values. Meanwhile, the fan base watches nervously, hoping this doesn't spiral into something irreparable. Because the truth is, this team needs McLaurin, both for what he brings on the field and the leadership he provides off it. What happens next? That's the $1 million, or in this case, $30 million question. McLaurin's trade value is complicated. While he draws interest from multiple teams in need of a proven number one receiver, few would be eager to give up draft capital and immediately sign him to a deal north of $30 million annually. That's a tough ask for any front office, especially considering McLaurin's age and the potential decline curve ahead. So while trade chatter continues to bubble in the media, it's not clear that there's a viable landing spot where all three parties, McLaurin, the Commanders, and a trade partner, get what they want. That makes a return to Washington still the most likely outcome, assuming both sides can swallow some pride and get back to the negotiating table with a spirit of compromise. And that's ultimately what this comes down to. Compromise. If the Commanders can meet McLaurin somewhere between their current offer and his asking price, say $30 to $31 million annually with performance incentives baked in, this entire situation could be diffused in a heartbeat. McLaurin gets his recognition, the team gets to keep its offensive cornerstone, and the locker room can return its focus to football. But if this drags on any longer, it risks becoming a major distraction heading into the regular season. And for a team trying to find its footing under new leadership, that's the last thing they need. The window for contention is small in the NFL. Wasting a year of it on contract drama would be a disservice to everyone involved, especially a fan base hungry for relevance and success. So now, as we inch closer to the season, all eyes remain on Washington. Terry McLaurin's gamble is hanging in the air, and its outcome could define the next chapter of his career and the Commanders' future. If they patch things up, this could all be forgotten by mid-season. But if they don't, and if McLaurin holds firm or the team decides to test the market, the ripple effects could reshape the NFC East entirely. This isn't just a contract dispute anymore. It's a crossroads. And what happens in the coming weeks might just decide whether the Commanders take the next step toward becoming a real contender or stumble once again into another year of what-ifs. Either way, Terry McLaurin's name will be right at the center of it all. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Well. If the NFL offseason wasn't spicy enough, here comes a rumor that's shaking up the football world. One that no one, and I mean no one, saw coming. Word on the street is that Chase Young, yes, that Chase Young is headed back to Washington in what insiders are calling a lightning-fast trade. That's right. After less than a season with the 49ers, the former Defensive Rookie of the Year might be packing his bags again and flying straight back to the Commanders' locker room. And this isn't just fan speculation. Multiple sources close to the situation are hinting that there's serious smoke. And where there's smoke in the NFL, there's usually a deal done in the dead of night. Now, why would the Commanders Want him back after letting him go so recently? And what could possibly have gone wrong in San Francisco so quickly to trigger this? The whispers say it's all part of a bigger plan, one that could reshape Washington's defense and redefine how this franchise moves forward. Buckle up, because this could be one of the wildest comeback stories we've seen in years. Let's dive deeper into this shockwave of a rumor and why this move could make or break both franchises. Let's rewind just a little. Remember how Chase Young was supposed to be the guy in Washington? Drafted second overall in 2020, this dude came in like a storm, wreaking havoc on offensive lines, forcing fumbles, chasing down quarterbacks like they owed him money. He was the face of a new era, the cornerstone of a defensive line that was once considered among the most dangerous in the league. But then came the injuries. The torn ACL, the long recovery, the doubts. Washington, under a different front office regime at the time, decided to pull the plug before things got worse. When the 49ers came calling, the Commanders answered. They shipped Young off midseason for what felt like pennies on the dollar. A compensatory pick, some would call it. It was a calculated risk, a gamble that Washington was willing to take in the name of moving on and rebuilding. But now, just months later, things have changed. New management, new head coach, a fresh vision, and apparently a surprising amount of regret. Could the Commanders be realizing they made a mistake? Or is this just a classic NFL redemption arc waiting to be written? Now, let's talk about the 49ers side of this, because this is where things get really juicy. When San Francisco brought Chase Young into the fold, the move was heralded as a stroke of genius. Reuniting him with his old Ohio State teammate Nick Bosa seemed like a no-brainer. The 49ers were pushing for a Super Bowl run, and Young was supposed to be the missing piece on a defensive line already packed with talent. And at first, things looked promising. He had a few solid games, got into the backfield, brought some energy, but then, as the weeks went on, the buzz faded. Behind closed doors, rumors started to emerge about locker room friction. Questions about effort in practice, even whispers about his fit in Steve Wilks' defensive scheme. Some say he never fully bought in. Others claim it was more of a schematic misalignment than a character issue. Whatever the case, the 49ers quietly decided not to re-sign him long term. He hit the market, and that's when, out of nowhere, Washington swooped back in. And not just with interest. They moved fast. Insiders are saying this was a done deal in less than 48 hours. That's how serious they were. So why the rush? Why the urgency to bring Chase Young back into the burgundy and gold? Well, some believe it's all about the new regime in DC. With Dan Quinn now running the show and a brand new front office in place, the Commanders are undergoing a culture shift. They're not just rebuilding, they're rebranding. They want leaders, they want dogs, and they want talent that knows the city, the fans, and the pressure of playing in Washington. Chase Young checks every single one of those boxes. He's still young, just 26, and he's got something to prove. Coming off a year of doubt and noise, returning to the team that drafted him could be exactly the chip on his shoulder he needs. And Quinn? He's known for bringing out the best in edge rushers. Think about what he did with Micah Parsons in Dallas. You plug a motivated Chase Young into that scheme, pair him with a revitalized Jonathan Allen and Darren Payne, and suddenly Washington's defense looks scary again. It's a risk, sure, but it might be the kind of high upside move that changes the narrative for this franchise. But let's not forget, this is still the NFL, and nothing is official until ink hits paper. As of now, all we've got is whispers, tweets from league insiders, and that gut feeling you get when too many connected people start saying the same thing. There's no official announcement, no team statement, no jersey swap photo yet, but we've seen this movie before. Deals like this don't stay quiet for long, especially when they involve a player with the name recognition and story arc of Chase Young. Fans are already buzzing. Social media is on fire. Washington loyalists are split. Some thrilled at the idea of a homecoming, others cautious, even skeptical. They remember the injuries, the hype that never quite materialized, the trade that sent him away in the first place. But in the NFL, hope is a powerful thing. And right now, the idea of a redemption arc for one of their own is just too good to ignore. Speaking of redemption, let's not underestimate what a move like this could do for Chase Young himself. This is a guy who's been through the highs and lows From defensive rookie of the year to trade bait in less than 3 seasons. From media darling to question mark. But now, with a chance to return to the team that once saw him as the face of the franchise, Young could flip the entire script. He's reportedly healthy, motivated, and ready to prove everyone wrong. Sources close to him say he's been training like a man possessed this offseason. Quietly, out of the spotlight, with something to prove. And don't forget, players like this don't just want a second chance. They need it. A strong season with Washington could mean a massive payday. In 2026, it could mean legacy, not just relevance. And for a player as proud and driven as Chase Young, that's worth his weight in gold. Then there's the locker room element. Washington has some young, hungry talent on both sides of the ball. They've got leadership from veterans like Terry, McLaurin, and Jonathan Allen. And now they've got a coaching staff that's emphasizing toughness, accountability, and identity. Bringing Chase Young back into that mix could go one of two ways. It could reignite the fire in the defense, or it could stir up old tensions. But early reports say this version of Young is different, more mature, humbled, focused, the kind of player who's learned from his journey and is ready to embrace a role bigger than just stats. If that's true, then this could be the ultimate locker room spark. Imagine the energy at training camp. Imagine the crowd response when he runs out of the tunnel again at FedEx Field. This isn't just a player move, it's an emotional one. And in sports, that stuff matters. From a front office perspective, this kind of move also makes a lot of sense. Washington has cap space, they got flexibility, and they've got a mandate to change the culture, not just the depth chart. Bringing back a high upside former cornerstone player like Chase Young on what would likely be a team-friendly deal. That's the kind of calculated risk that smart GMs take. It shows the locker room that redemption is possible. It shows fans that they're serious about building something real. And it shows the league that the Commanders aren't afraid to rewrite the narrative. They don't care what people think. They care about results. And if Young can deliver even flashes of the dominance he showed in his rookie season, this move will look like a masterstroke. It's bold, it's unconventional, and it might be exactly what Washington needs to finally turn the page. Now let's think big picture. What if this trade actually happens? And what if it works? What if Chase Young returns to Washington and dominates? What if he becomes the emotional leader of a defense that turns into a top 5 unit under Dan Quinn? What if he helps mentor the younger guys, bring swagger back to the Commanders' pass rush, and earns himself a long-term deal next offseason? Suddenly, this isn't just a reunion, it's a franchise-defining moment, and you better believe it'll be talked about for years. On the flip side, if it doesn't work, if Young struggles again or can't stay healthy, it's a low risk, a miss. No one's expecting him to be Superman anymore. But the ceiling? The ceiling is special, and that's what makes this rumor so exciting. It's not just about stats or schemes, it's about story. And Chase Young's story in Washington might not be over just yet. So what's next? We wait, we watch. We listen for tweets, check our phones for updates, and keep an eye on press conferences. Because if this rumor becomes reality, the Commanders' 2025 season just got a whole lot more interesting. One thing's for sure, this isn't the last. We'll hear of Chase Young and his connection to DC, not by a long shot. The NFL loves a good comeback, and maybe, just maybe, Chase Young's best chapter is about to be written right where it all began. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.